guys, and welcome back to the Laird Performance YouTube channel. On the last video we managed to get our Mark 4 ready within 14 days to go to Oulton Park, where we managed to find out a lot about the car and how we could better improve it. So now that we've got it back in the workshop, we could run a couple of checks, make sure our brakes were okay, check every nut and bolt, and also adjust the seats. So a couple of things I noticed when I was out on track with it. One, the temps started getting a little bit high for my liking, but it was on a standard intercooler, so that's one thing that we're going to have to address. Secondly, was the most important, the fact that I couldn't see over the steering wheel. That meant that I had to guess on more than one occasion exactly where I was in the track, which that definitely needs fixed. So what we've actually done is we've just bought some different seat rails and it will just lift it all up. And also we need a bit more noise. So this is exactly where my eye level is. So what you see now is what I'm seeing. So as you can imagine, that isn't the easiest thing to drive around track with. So once again, Alan and my dad had to pull out the seat, replace the mounts, and then sit me in them and see if I was happy where I was sitting. But it made a massive difference for me just changing these over. So that's much better, I can actually see now. Now my vision is not obscured. I can now send this in ways that I've never sent it before. Another thing that I really want to do with this car is put some wide arches on it. I think that will give us a much better stance, as well as just make the car look a whole lot more racier. Because right now, for me, it's just a little bit too standard and I quite like my cars to be a bit over the top, to be honest. The ideal situation would actually be to put the touring car body kit on it, because then that's a proper racing body kit, and you know, we'll still have a lot of work to do to actually fit that, because they're not quite the same at the front as well as generally everywhere. But I don't think that's going to happen. We could make our own one, but we've not really got the space for that sort of stuff anymore. It's quite a hard one. We've saw some wide arches that are available in the market for these, so I think we're going to try some of them and make a couple of modifications to see how we can make them suit our needs best. So with us now needing to do some data logs before we go and fit the AirTech intercooler, it seems the opportune time to plug the RTD. Why am I plugging this right now? Well, it's simple. If I want to data log this, I'm going to have to go and put my computer in it, which is far from convenient because it's not got another seat to rest on. This, on the other hand, is a standalone unit which will be able to data log directly to my phone, which will send it to my computer anyway as part of the TDN network. So this is built by HP tuners who make all our tuning tools for us, and I can basically remote tune people's cars through these. So for any Mark 4 Focus ST owners, if you don't want to make the journey all the way to us, this may be a good option for you, because we can monitor the car's logs, see how it's running, and make adjustments to the tune remotely, as well as do some fancy little extras as well. The RTD is a super simple piece of kit to use. It comes with full comprehensive instructions, as well as if you need our help, you can just simply pick up the phone and give us a call or email in. All you need to do is download the TDN app, plug in your tool and follow the on-screen instructions, and it will guide you through the setup process. And once that's done, you can read your vehicle, it will send the file to us and we can send you your tune files back. And once you've done that, we can set about data logging the car, like we're about to do now. Taking data logs before we fit the intercooler is a main part of the process to see exactly how much this part of the cooling system will affect the full overall running of the car. Because we're adding a secondary intercooler, it is a bit different. Now we're still keeping the standard intercooler at this point and adding this secondary one, which is a little bit less intrusive and a bit easier for people to fit. So what we're essentially doing with this intercooler is we're making it a twin pass, so it'll go through once and then it'll travel through the second intercooler. So you've already done the main cooling with the main intercooler. It then passes through the secondary one, and that should give us a good bit of change over what we've currently got on there, because the standard intercooler is pretty poor. When we took the one off our last car, it was not impressive at all, it was tiny. So we will be putting the bigger AirTech intercooler on this as well, but for now we want to just try it with the small one and see what the results are like. So one wee challenge we've came up against, we don't have an under tray for this car, and this thing's meant to bolt on and be a nice scoop for it and guide airflow. So for the time being, this isn't going on. It's that simple. It's not going on. I'm not buying an under tray when I'm going to be putting a big massive splitter on it. This will be fine. I can just appreciate it sitting there. After some tests and some positive results, we wanted to take things a little bit further. We weren't happy just sitting at that one level, and also I got a whiff that there was a track day on the go, and there was every chance I was going to be able to make it to it. So we have now decided that one intercooler is simply not enough, albeit it's got 2 intercoolers right now. We've decided that one upgraded intercooler simply isn't enough, so we're going to add our AirTech intercooler off the old car back onto this one. And while we're at it, we're going to put a turbo elbow on, and we're also going to put a downpipe on. It's time to make some noise and get this thing over 400 horsepower. So let's get cracking. In fact, recap that. Doing the intercooler on these is probably the worst job ever. It's horrendous. Isn't it, Alan? There's too many things. Too many things. So we'll probably just do the downpipe on it for now. Downpipe elbow. That's probably easier than fitting an intercooler on one of these, to be fair. And that is the sad reality. Aye, we'll get it on. We'll get it on. We'll make over 400 horses. All of the horses. So it appears that we've hit a small snag, and it's absolutely nothing to do with fitting. It's more to do with misplacing things. Unfortunately, I seem to have misplaced the downpipe. Time to go on the hunt. And we finally found it. Took us a fair bit of time, but Alan the memory man, remembered it. He remembered where it would maybe be. And after a fair bit of sieving through some stuff, we actually managed to find it. So now that we've got that, we can actually get back on with the install, but we've definitely lost a wee bit of time doing that. You know, me being me, I thought I'll have put it in a box, it'll be somewhere. It was on a shelf. A shelf that I didn't even think to look on. Oh well. Now to continue. So this setup that we're putting on this is not its street legal setup, this is its track only setup. When we've got it in street legal mode, it's got this on and it's got a GPF in place. So that is when we run what we call the LP2S software. It doesn't make quite as much power, but it's the Laird Performance Stage 2 street package, meaning that all the emission stuff is all as normal. But when we're going for maximum power and track days only, this is what we run. This car will get trailered pretty much everywhere, so there'll be very, very few times that we'll need to put this on. Well, I'm ready when you are, Alan. Actually not too bad. And now that the decat was done, it was time to go on to installing the AirTech intercooler. Now this intercooler had already been on our main development car, so it's a little bit tatted looking, but it works fine. We know this intercooler is fantastic in comparison to the standard one. All that was left to do was build the car back up because my dad wanted to work in some of the dents in the bodywork. We'd also been told that we'd been added to the reserve list for the track day that was happening at Knockhill. So hopefully at last minute we may get a space, so we needed to make sure the car was ready to go. All that meant is it would have a little bit more primer and also probably not have the stage 2 tune applied, but it will still go well nonetheless. The next morning we got a call to say to head up to the track. 2 cars had actually broke their gearboxes on track, so we had to load up the car quick and get up there. One thing I had trouble with was getting my gearing right. I was so used to going round this track in a Fiesta that I just could not get to grips with the gearing in this Focus. It is completely different. But once I'd worked it out, I'd started to get a lot more confident in the car. The fact I could actually see helped. But then I went on to set my PB for this track. that track day was really successful. We actually managed to go around the fastest we've ever went round in any car. That to me is a big step, considering that is my first time in the seat of that car on that track. The changes we've made have clearly made a bit of difference as well, because I felt a lot more confident driving the car because I wasn't having to guess where I was actually going. So the seating position is much better. I can actually see everything that I need to see. I can see all the corners where I need to enter, and the way it goes through corners is unbelievable, considering this car is just on a set of eye-back lowering springs and everything else is standard as far as the suspension is concerned. We've not touched it from how Ford set it or anything like that. It is just spot on. So I'm really impressed. The only thing I would say is, again, like the Mark 8 Fiesta ST, it does need a clutch when you've got the likes of semi-slicks on and you're caning it round the track. You can just feel once the heat gets into it, the clutch does start to slip. The other thing is, like everyone else, we see the oil temps getting a little bit too high for my liking. Now, with putting the intercoolers on, all of that has made a bit of a difference, you know, just the overall cooling aspect. It's amazing what can actually affect the running of a vehicle. So with that is one thing that we've already kind of, you know, utilised to cool everything. We haven't changed the calibration, so it's still on the stage 1 calibration. Hadn't made the stage 2 changes because the track day was so last minute, but it went round rapid. We went round and I think it was 58.6 seconds, which is pretty good considering it's my first time out. I'm still learning the car and I just get faster and faster as the day went on. The other thing that I want to do is actually install an oil cooler, but I've came across some oil as well that I totally forgot that we can do through one of our suppliers. I tried it in another car before, but it wasn't quite the right grade. I found the correct grade for this car with the super slip agent in it, the NT+, which hopefully will reduce any sort of drag in there, and you know, they say it can make more power. We'll find out, we'll have to do a bit of a test on that, but if it can lower the oil temps just through reducing the friction, then that's great. The only thing is, it's quite expensive, but when you're doing track days, everything's going to be expensive anyway. The brakes felt a lot better this time. I'm a lot more confident in them. I think I just didn't get the chance to bed them in properly the last time I was out, and also the fact I couldn't see over the dashboard didn't help. But the car is like a totally different car. We need to just finish off the bodywork side of things now, but we're going to pull it into the garage, get the front bumper off and see where we can put this oil cooler. I don't want to put it where most people put them, because just the way my intake setup works, I want maximum cold airflow, and if I put it up quite high, what's going to end up happening is it's going to end up, you know, drawing some hot air into the intake, which we don't want to do. Well, that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a thumbs up, subscribe and join us in the next one, where we make a full chassis mounted front splitter. We also take delivery of the SS Tuning wide arch kit all the way from Ukraine and test fit a brand new wide wheels.